Okay, so continuing my topic here about COVID-19, and I was just on the phone with people calling. So here we can see a self-reflection. We human, it's very difficult. So we're gonna go on this topic here. Okay, our inability to look at ourselves is also an issue. Okay, so why it is an issue? It's not easy for us to do that. On my previous recording, I was talking about wildebeest mama, but between wildebeest versus human mama. Okay, I wanted to show that the wildebeest newborn can quickly walk, and our newborn, it will take us very long. So the discussion gonna go between, hey, human being, why it take us so long for our offspring to be able to do what adults do. This kind of four-legged animal, that's not the case. And this was able to help me to understand why children, since they're not doing like adults, the virus was not able to affect them the same way like adults, because we know the human baby, and to better understand it, this conversation was going between, this is an imaginary discussion between the two. Okay, so I want to come a little bit back on here. Okay, something I forgot is between when we have a virus, we're just talking about, oh, don't worry, we're gonna create a vaccine. I believe this sounds more medical than biological. Why? Because rather than saying what to do outside, that is a biology itself, we're talking more about the medical thing. So you can see here you have two fields. Okay, biologists will most likely talk about outside, even we can talk about inside, and the pharmacists, the medical team, they will talk about the immune system, how to protect. Okay, so you can see here the first issue gonna be about field. Okay, field separation here, because you can see you have two teams, but a biologist is not going to try to be a pharmacist, or a pharmacist. I mean, what I want to say is being a biologist and being a pharmacist is a little bit of difference, because during my career, I did my master. I was from the Faculty of Science, but I work with pharmacists, and we will be a little bit different. Okay, so the way we see things is a little bit different. Okay, because here we don't focus on the biology. Okay, so coming back to this self-reflection, this is a good tool. Okay, good tool to enable us to detach with preset ideas. Okay, and we're gonna see that with the last topic here too. Okay, and let's go now to this third point, what we call active versus passive contamination. This is very, very important, because what is a passive and active contamination here? Okay, let's remove this one here. So if I came to this third one, when you have a virus spreading, we have the contamination. So we don't know. We should know, is it active or passive contamination? not passive contamination. This is important. What I mean by active contamination is the virus itself doing the movement between a healthy person and a non-healthy person, right? Or it's not doing anything. It is using the host, right? He's using the host fluid in the situation to move, okay? Because this will tell us what to do depending what we have. This is important here. Because if we have active contamination, the virus will be the one who dictate the route, okay? And we have active, something that is active. We can think of moving in a liquid using like let's say in the case of a spermatozoid, we know that it's moving, it's swimming inside the liquid, going to the opposite, to the female part, okay? My writing is not nice. To the female parts, just to make it easy, okay? We have this element is swimming. Let's say this is the active action. But a passive action here, and this is, we talk about reproduction, even the virus is a bit different. Let's see a bee and pollination. When the flower has a male part with the color, with everything, he attracts the bee. The bee takes the food he wants, but in the food in his feet he takes the male part and go to another flower. That's how some plant do the reproduction, but the bee is doing the reproduction without knowing it, okay? So we can see the male part is not doing anything, but the bee allows the opportunity or the possibility, or the possibility. If you don't have a bee, no reproduction for some plants, okay? And during COVID-19, I believe you don't have active, we have passive one, okay? So if we have passive one, that means the host will be enabling the contamination, okay? And here we know that with the size of a virus, even if it's walking or swimming, he cannot move very fast, right? Because you know the size of a virus. And I wanted to go, let's just pause this one here. Here we just gonna see what Professor DJ Raoult is saying. I was saying it a long time, but let's listen what he's saying.
Du risque d'infection manuportée. Et d'ailleurs, moi j'ai eu l'occasion de le dire, on a fait ça en Afrique, mais d'autres avaient fait une vraie étude de cette nature-là aussi au Pakistan. Le lavage des mains, le simple lavage des mains diminuait de 30% le risque d'infection respiratoire, hein. Donc, encore une fois, si vous observez quelqu'un, vous verrez qui a une infection respiratoire, et encore plus avec cette maladie qui fait peu éternuer et peu tousser. Vous verrez qu'en revanche, les gens se mettent les mains sur le nez, ensuite ils mettent les mains sur les meubles, ils vous touchent, ils touchent toute une série d'objets que vous allez vous-même pouvoir toucher, et ensuite vous mettrez vos mains à la bouche, et que c'est un mode de contamination majeur. Nous, on est absolument convaincus, moi c'est ce que je fais, je me passe 20 à 30 fois par jour les mains à l'alcool. Vous voyez, quelques gouttes d'alcool, et puis ça tue les virus assez facilement qui sont fragiles, et ça c'est une mesure qui est extraordinairement importante et qui a probablement aussi des conséquences du coup sur les autres infections respiratoires, mais aussi sur les infections digestives. Donc je pense que ça, la diminution des contacts manuels qui ne sont pas indispensables et le passage quand on a touché quelque chose en dehors de chez soi, des mains à l'alcool, joue un rôle qui est très important.
So here is another. In my previous video, it was not even this one. Professor Raut was explaining, how hand contamination, because when we look at here between passive and active, he's basically saying the same thing but in a different way. He's explaining that the contamination is more by hand or aeroporter or maniporter, or by hand rather than by air. Okay? Because in an active contamination, the assumption will be I'm standing in front of somebody, the virus can just go. Okay? But the thing is, the reality is the hands are more likely, after having the virus, can do the transmission. Okay? And he's telling that with COVID-19, there was no lot of coughing. Okay? It's just more runny nose. The coughing was not very important. Okay? And some studies show when you wash your hand, you can reduce by 30% in the infection. So in order to have this hand contamination, we have to go with a passive way the virus being distributed. And I believe this is one of the major issue we have during COVID-19, because the way they was explaining between air contamination or aerosol contamination, right? It did not work. So the hand contamination going to be a passive. Basically, when I say passive, it's us. We are doing the contamination. Okay? And we'll see more about that. So, in summary, I want to show something here. So, if we have, let's see. Sorry. If we have active contamination and here passive contamination. Passive contamination. Right. So, in the other hand, we have, we can call it what is hand contamination. Hand contamination. I'm gonna do it the other way because we're gonna do aerosol contamination versus hand contamination. Okay, so here is, you see, we have a direct relation between here. The active contamination will be, let's say, you're standing in front of body, the virus is leaving you and going to the other guy without anything between except the air. Okay, this is aerosol contact. So these guys gonna go together. Okay, and the passive contamination, the virus doesn't do anything, but he's using us to do the contamination. And this is direct. This is not direct. Okay? This is very important because this will tell us more we're gonna go, we'll understand why we didn't control COVID-19. Okay? This is very important, right? Because you are 50% succeeding or failing. And Professor Raoul, that's exactly what I explained before, the percentage between the two. Okay, we have, ideally you're going to have 50-50, but I believe we're going to have here more than 50, and less than, more than 50% going to be hand contamination. I don't know if I don't want to, let me remove this one here, make it easier. I don't need this one. So what we have is the balance between, let's say I'm going to put hand contamination, hand, and here we're going to put air. Okay, according to what he's saying, it's bigger on this area. Hand is bigger than air contamination. Okay, because this is where we can fail. If you don't go with the big one, we will fail. So we went with social distancing and wearing a mask. We thought it was air by aerosol contamination, right? And hands, okay? And let's say, just give, this is 90%. Sorry, this way. We have to do it this way. Let's say 90% is hand, 10% is air. I'm just giving idea, okay? If we go after 10% of the overall contamination, we'll fail surely. But in this situation, if 90% is hand contamination, most likely we'll have a reduction, we'll able to break the chain of contamination. Basically, that's what everything here is explaining, okay? It can be less or more, I don't know, right? So now we will be tackling something really interesting here. Let's go to the data analysis here. And if you remember what we done on the preview, I am using Oman and UAE. There is a reason where I'm using these three countries, okay? What I've done, basically, I went to the world meter where we was having, here is what we're gonna do with the data analysis, okay? Here we have three countries, and there is a specific reason why. This is Oman, right? It's here. UAE is here. Yemen is here, right? Okay. And you see Yemen, Oman, and Emirates. There is one single reason happening into this country. In Oman, why I'm using it. What I've done is, just let me just go. I should have that earlier, but I didn't do it. World meter COVID-19. Sorry guys, I should have done it. COVID cases. Okay, I should have done it before. Here is what we have. Here is where I was following all the, you see the number of people who die, and let's see, they go by country, right? They put the US and go. How many millions here? 334 million, almost 335 million. How many people die? 1,219,000. And total cases is 111. And the population. What I've done, I just basically go by the percentage, right? If you see, this is very close to 30% of contaminated, okay? But they didn't put the percentage. So I've done a calculation here. For a lot of countries, the US, you see, I did the calculation, is 33% was infected by COVID-19, okay? But let's see the three countries that interest here, okay? The three countries is Oman, Oman, here we have, Oman, we have how many? For a population of 5 million, a little bit more than 5 million, we have almost 400,000 cases. How many people die? 4,000. But I'm interested on the total of the population and the number of cases. So Oman gonna give me 7.5% was infected. I'm not interested of how many people dies. And let's see UAE. UAE, we have 10 million, right? 10 million, almost 10 million, and 1 million case, almost 10% there, right? How many people die? 2,000. Okay. In the UAE, I don't know where I left it again. UAE, you see, is 10.6%. Okay. Oman have 7.5. Yemen, look at Yemen, 0.003. So we're gonna go for that country. Yemen, we have how many population? 31 million, right? And 11,000, almost 12,000 cases. How many people die? 2,000. But look at the percentage here. Very tiny. 0.03% was infected. Oman 7.5% and UAE 10.6. Why we have all these differences? This is where it's interesting. In these three countries, they almost sharing the same how it's called, the same latitude. So it's here. It's I believe between 15 and 30 degrees. But if you look, it's between here and here. Okay. So 15, just half gonna be maybe 20. They share the same latitude, right? But why we have 0.03? We have 0.03. We have 7.5 for Oman and 10%. Three countries having the same environment, but the data of the contamination is not the same. Everything is for this country. Okay, Oman. Oman is our topic here. What happening in Oman is special. Here we can see maybe they have the same culture or it's not very different. They are just Arab countries, Emirati, Omani, and Yemeni. Okay, at 0.03% of infection, 7.5% of infection, 10% infection. In Oman, this country refused to build high rises. That's why I'm using it. UAE, in UAE, Emirates Arab Uni, we know they are building high rises. The most they are like they are competing, building high rises. So here I believe in Oman they say the highest building is 7th floor, right? Yemen most likely they don't have that. I believe these guys have better economy. They have the money to build buildings, but Oman doesn't go for high rises. They live in the horizontal. They want to live horizontally. This guy, they want to live in a vertical habitat, and this guy, no vertical. That's my assumption. Okay, and you can see with the same environment, it changes. More you have buildings or higher buildings, most likely you have more infection. That's the only explanation I'm seeing here. And using Oman is a very, very important information here. Because we know in Oman, you're not allowed to build high rises. So here I'm just reading why Oman has no skyscraper. Okay, this is why I'm choosing Oman, and just all this country, Oman does not do skyscraper. It's banned on skyscraper. Oman has many regulation, right? This is why I'm using it. Okay, Oman. There is almost all the feeling when looking across Oman capital city of Muscat. Okay, they refuse to do that. Okay, and what is important here about COVID-19, we've seen why high rises, living in a apartment building, you are more likely to get COVID, and this is another proof. And I believe scientists between these three countries, they can provide more information, because we don't know, right? This is an idea that we can use to know why, when these countries are in the same environment, same latitude, everything very similar, why they don't have this one. And these are data from directly coming from the population. Remember, COVID-19 is a pandemic, so all the data we are reading is coming directly from the population, so we can read them directly. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to, because we are not playing with samples. And so you can see how we can explain this one, because these two countries, my assumption is it's hot here. You remember when we was looking the building in Toronto, it's cold there. But here, hot climate, cold climate here, you have the money to create indoor and outdoor temperature, because human beings need a certain temperature where he can walk and do whatever he wants without any issue. I believe because of the money, they was able to build the buildings and create an indoor temperature that doesn't change a lot. So you need to have door closing and so on and so forth. These two countries, except Oman has little less than this one. And 1% of a population is big numbers. Like there are 2.5 more contamination in UAE, and I believe because only of the skyscraper here. Here, maybe they don't have in Yemen, maybe they don't have any skyscraper, but they can tell us. Okay. Now we're gonna be tackling the standing position. Okay. This is, I call this one, if you look at here, why I'm using standing position and what that has to do with COVID-19. Why? This is a farmer and a pig, and we're gonna talk about swine flu. Sorry, my writing is not nice. It's swine flu. Here is another thing that we need to I believe this is one of the most important points, and this is something we need to know. What is the standing position? Why swine flu? Because the swine flu is the only virus that go from pig to human. Important, right? We're talking about COVID-19. We're talking about another flu. So a pig, the farmer and his pig. Okay, the farmer and his pig. So here, this virus, I should have to put, because we talk about the virus, but do we know how a virus look like? It's gonna go and I like this one. So we have viruses here. We talk about virus, but let's see this one. At the universities, they're gonna give this kind of virus, this one or this one, but this is the most popular one. You see, this is a virus. It has a cylindrical shape, and inside you have a DNA, and this is just to connect to the cell, right? You have others where you can have an outer layer from the host, right? Remember, the virus doesn't have anything to move, but it has something. Look at this 4 here. This is one of them they use with, and this is a tobacco virus. You have several type of virus. But the most important element I wanted to show you is what they call the capsid. Here is. Where is that one? You see, this is usually how it look like. You have when it connects to the cell, it just injects the viral DNA. That's all he need, and it will go. If it can do outside nothing, but inside he becomes a boss. Look like fish. You put the fish out of the water, he cannot do anything. You put in the water, he's the boss. That's the virus. Okay, so here we're gonna be seeing when this pig have a virus, he can move it to the farmer. Okay, but this is where we have another issue about contamination. Okay, we have, let's see, I have this nice image here. Okay, here is a pig, it's a farmer. The pig can have swine flu and give it to a human because that's I think it's called H1N1. But when you look at the pig, this guy is standing. What is the difference between a 4-legged animal and a 2-legged species like us? So here is where we're gonna find something interesting. Look at the pig here. I just go by angle. The pig and the belly. Let's say this is 90 degree, right? Angle. 4 leg, all are used for motion and supporting the body, right? How can we move from this 4-legged animal to this 2-legged animal? Us. And here is where I found something very interesting. If you look, this pig here, in order, I don't know, evolutionary biology, whatever. In order to have this standing position, we just go with the pig here. Okay, the belly and the feet, 90 degrees, sorry. Let's say you flip this pig all the way up. So you're gonna have, between the two, it's gonna be 180 degrees. So in order for a pig to have the same, you will have to flip it first 90 degree here. But if you flip the pig, the 2 feet gonna be in the horizontal position, right? It's not a human. So that's the first angle we find. So we have a 90 degree from the belly to the posterior feet. So we first have a 90 degree angle. Okay, and while the two front feet are in the, because we just do the first angle here, are in the horizontal position. In order to try to be a human, let's say the 2 feet front feet that are parallel, right? 0 degree here, 0 degree, they need to open 90 here and open another 90. So we human, right, have our chest between the 2 hand, it's open 180 here. So total is 180. Okay, 180 degree. And it's still the 2 feet gonna be on the horizontal position. But what we found on this 180 degree is the shoulder is in the lateral position. This is very important, you will see. In the lateral position. Hey, I didn't even know what I'm saying here, right? And it's still, they're gonna still be on the horizontal. And after, they have to go down. Both of them because of gravity, right? So you have another 90 degree. 90 degree. So in order for a four-legged animal to be like a human, we'll have a 90 degree, a 90 degree angle, a 180 degree, and another 180. Okay? So this, I believe we can call it 360 degree angle plus or minus 90 degree angle. This is how I want to call it. We'll see why. Because we have the same position for the two hands, because we have a bilateral animal. Here you have 90 and 90, but it's the same. So if you have 90 here, okay, the first 90, so 90, 90, 90, it's gonna be 270. So we're gonna have either 270 degree or 440. Okay, so I wanted to put it this way so we know why we are using the 90 degree. Okay, so when we came back here, this is very important. Look at the pig. These feet, they support the animal and is used for motion. The human equivalent is our two hands. Human hand activity or human hand, basically they are just dangling there, not doing anything. But we use it for everything except supporting the body or being used for motion. Okay? So, and here I want to point something. If you look at the pig, okay, with this angle, you know what we're seeing. The first thing we found is the knee. You notice that a human knee is bending forward. This one, it's bending backward. All the four-legged animals, it's bending backward. Right, first thing. Second thing we can notice here is the elbow. Okay? The elbow is a very well proportionate articulation that enables the hand, when we turn our hand, okay? When we turn our hands, right, it just go right here because of this elbow. Okay? This elbow enables us to take care of ourselves, to deal with the environment, like he's feeding pig now, but also to interact with other human. This one is not doing that. Okay? But the most interesting here is the blood circulation. Look at the pig. The circulation is going to be on the horizontal way, but we human, the most important element is our brain. But why evolution or nature has to fight against gravity, because the pumping the blood is going against gravity. In the four-legged animal, you don't have that. It looked like to me that the standing position may be one of the greatest achievements of nature. So human being, we ourselves, are able to be who we are. Okay? So this standing position, we know that how many species can have that? Almost just us. How many species can walk having 2 feet and have the balance and be able to run, to do a lot of activities and have perfect balance? It always came back to what we said earlier. self-reflection. But what I want to point here is more about COVID-19, because this elbow, right, when we bend it, it go right in our face, right? You see he's touching a bucket, feeling the pig. The same hand is used almost for everything. The swine flu here, the only way he's gonna spread from pigs gonna be from the mouth only. A pig very close to this one, you can sneeze and pass it, or he's drinking water, another one is next to it, and the virus just use the water and connect to the. So, but we are certain here, there will never be a virus going to this front leg and contaminate as a pig, because the design it's a no-no. But here, this hand, freeing this hand with this position, make us different, because the same virus will change from here to here, because our design, our hand can, it just fit perfectly for our face, right? And the same hand, we use it for opening a door, interacting with environment, or interacting with other people. Okay. So the idea here is simple. If the animal, let's say, are in 90-degree, we have 360-degree more. So we are shifting. So here we can see that human being is very special. That's why I wonder if you know that. And another issue here, when you are dealing with a laboratory and you testing animals, most laboratories are going to use four-legged animal, rodent or even pig, to test it. But how can you explain the same disease here you can use in the laboratory and do a testing? You will never talk about feed contamination because it doesn't make sense. So whatever you have here, you cannot put it here. Even it's the same virus. Even we're going to say the pig is genetically close to us. Everything close to us. But the contamination going to be more a passive contamination. So it's just going to follow the opportunity it has. The virus will not have one way of contaminating because he's not doing it. It is in the fluid, the runny nose. So this hand will become way more important than the mouse or whatever name you call it, contamination coming from the pig. Okay, so this can make it difficult for any scientist without looking things this way. The same virus, but the way it's going to spread, most likely the hand going to take over. Okay, like the aerosol contamination going to be there, but it's going to be less important than the hand contamination. And here we can use something very similar. Those who work in the restaurant industry, those who cook the food, what is the probability if a worker did not wash his hand very well, he went to the washroom, what is the chance him contaminating the food? He is dealing with body fluid, right, in the washroom, but you always know they ask you to wash your hand. Okay, when you go to any restaurant, that's a mandatory. Otherwise, you're gonna have food poisoning, food contamination. And this is very similar. You have your hand touching your body fluid, you can contaminate the food. The same way, the same hand is touching the nose. When you have runny nose, you're gonna contaminate. And here it's gonna be more the doors. And I'm gonna send you a small clip on a business where you can see hand contamination. Okay, so you can see how things are not easy because we are very special species. Like I said, we are very special. This 360-degree, I didn't even think of it. I do remember when I was doing human physiology because I spent 1 year with medical doctors studying human physiology. They're gonna make you, how it's called, they have two way of reading the blood pressure. When you're standing, you can read it, but when you go and you have to go to the go on the floor, wait, I believe 12 minutes, and then read another, they call it systolic pressure, I believe, something like that. Okay? Because our heart has to fight against gravity. And look at the pig here. The heart being here, he's just gonna pump the blood in the lateral position. We going against gravity. This is, I believe, when we're talking about human intellectual ability, I think we are somehow wrong. We are somehow wrong because the brain is just ideas, right? But the physical body and this design enable us to be who we are, the architect of the world. And here I believe the two go together. And which one is more important? Difficult to say. I believe that this is standing position with everything it costs us, right? To have this position, it has to be one of the most important things here. And you can say it another way. If human intellectual ability is a top one, so well, it has to go with the same hardware between software. So the body has to be the top one also, the perfect form in order to translate the brain. Our intellectual ability need to be translated with a special body. So, and in human activities, I believe that why viruses become viral, it's important, because of who we are in this position and our hand being used in three different situations. Our hand can be explained in three different aspects here. Sorry, the hand, we have our hand. We have first gonna be dealing just ourselves. You see, you use our hand to deal with how you can scratch your body, you can protect your head, you can deal with your body fluid, you can do, this is us. The other one gonna be human to human, how interaction with as a human. Say you shake hand, you pick up your kids. This is between human, but also we have human and our environment. Or here we're gonna say just habitat, right? So our hand with this design enable us to deal with these three things all the time, and we're not even thinking of that. And here we're gonna see with this human and habit, okay? Like you remember, we always, I'm gonna use again, I wanna show you, I believe this surface, this one, are the most common surface we share. This surface here in public are the most common one we share. Okay? So you can see that the standing position has to be one of the greatest achievements of maybe nature, I don't know. Okay? If human brain is the top, this is standing position and every proportion. And here what I wanna explain, the video gonna be long, but I have to do it. what I want to say here is why we as human beings, we have one morphology, one anatomy, and same number of muscle, but we are able to do different things. This enables us to deal with nature, to extract what we need to survive, and to create our shelter. Why human and the best example is going to be a little bit weird, but is how in each community people have a special way of celebrating or dancing. Why? Basically, the human body is able to combine, right, lot of position in a dancing, and are going to be specific to each community. It's almost endless the number of combinations we can make with our body. And the best example is when people dance. Each community has his own way of doing it. The single type of body, same anatomy, same morphology, but the ability to do endless things. And with this endless ability of doing it, okay, we touching things, we dealing with things, and if the virus show up, he's just using the existing human activity and become viral. But the virus itself, cannot do it. Okay. So let's go back now to I think the topic is long. We can do a lot of things, but what is interesting here is all the elements that make it difficult to understand how the virus moves. If you look in the beginning, we have the medical and the biological things, because when we talk about vaccine, it's more medical, so we're not talking about biology. And we outside, that's the first thing. And you can see human morphology can change everything. Okay, top and bottom. And between, you can see same country, same latitude, but the rate of contamination is not the same. But it always came to what we know, hand contamination, the habitat, right? 0.03, very low, 7.5 and 10. 3 bordering countries having very, very different rate of contamination. Okay, that's another thing. And understanding active versus passive contamination make you decide where to go. Okay, and understanding also the age within people. Okay, the way hand being used, we know the kids not gonna do this kind of activity because they cannot even. A human baby will have maybe a 4-legged animal. He will try to crawl, right? You can see, so we're talking about a lot of things that can prevent us to understand why the virus, why we cannot control the virus. But there is something that will never change in human, is our understanding how morphology and understanding you dealing with a respiratory disease, and the hand is perfect element to become a major vector, okay, interacting with the habitat. To already check that, okay. So right now let's go back to here. If now we know how the outside work, and we say hand contamination, maybe I'm just giving a number, 90% hand contamination, and aerosol contamination is 10%. We will able to stop the virus or to drastically reduce the chain of contamination from outside before it got inside. And if we had that, if we prove we can have that, we can talk to these guys and we can talk to these guys. now the power gonna shift between those who do vaccine and those who think of doing bioweapon to use the same property. We can tell them, hey, maybe we don't need your help. We will able to now deal with the virus before it get inside our body. We don't need that. We're gonna have some people contaminated, but we will know how to reduce it. Okay? So I don't. The video is already long, but there's a lot of things we can say. But the idea of this video is just how amazing life it is, how amazing this standing position is, how amazing everything in each level you have to think through to see what prevents us, to understand how the virus is spreading. And I believe this is something that, of course, need to be checked, okay, proved, and maybe, if it is true, we know we can protect ourselves. And before I forgot, I just have an idea of what we can do. So in sum, now the suggestion I can do is easy. Of course, I couldn't say a lot of things because there are a lot of things to say here. We can collective. So here, after everything we said, what can we do? In the individual level, let's say we prove that 90% of the contamination came from hands. I'm just, even if it's 75%, it's still good. In an individual level, what we can do to protect ourselves and to protect our lesson, that's what I call disinfect and touch. So in an individual level, let's say you're going to a community where the virus is spreading. Okay? What you do in an individual level to protect yourself is to make sure you put hand sanitizer, you kill the virus. You can hear the Professor Raoult saying they are very easy to kill. You disinfect your hands and you touch. And you can do disinfect, touch, disinfect, touch. So basically, you're going to be making sure, because we want to make sure you don't have. So first, you don't give the people the virus. That's why you need to disinfect first. So disinfect and you touch. You can touch, and do another disinfection. So basically, if you disinfect and you touch a door handle or any other surface, you're not giving the people the virus. You touch, but at the time you shouldn't touch your face, you disinfect. So basically, if you don't give the virus and nobody gonna, you're not taking the virus, you're not giving it to anybody, and you're not giving it to anybody. You're not taking it from anybody and giving it to anybody. In a collective level, in an area where you have high traffic, where touching is, you do the opposite. Okay, people going to you're gonna have to put people. We're gonna volunteer, right? We're gonna volunteer, and we're gonna do touch. When somebody touch a door and get through the door, you disinfect. Okay, so let's say a volunteer is sitting there, somebody passed through a door and go, you're gonna disinfect. When somebody touch it, this guy gonna come, disinfect, and follow him. Anytime he touch, he can go clean, right? So in high traffic, that's what we can do. And here, if this is true, any regular person can will know what to do to protect himself, his family, his community. If this is true and it's proven, okay? Since we don't know, right? If this is true, we can protect ourselves, okay? And you remember, I believe Bill Gates was saying that a virus will wipe out human being, right? Because we don't know. But now with everything here, we may have the possibility to say no. You know your enemy. You know the enemy movement. You know how to fight it. The principle will never change. When an army is attacking another army, you just need to know how the enemy moves. The moment you know how, you set your trap. So it will be in the individual level and the collective level. So basically you're gonna have disinfect, touch, and touch, disinfect. This is per person, and this is what a volunteer can do, okay? Disinfection, your hand, touch a door, touch, disinfect, okay? And if we imprint that, we'll able to break the chain of contamination, okay? So there is a lot of things I can say, but I believe we are 1 hour now. And of course, there is a lot of detail I can put in, but I'm so tired. So anyway, this was what I wanted to share. And please let me know if I didn't know about this standing position. Honest to God, I didn't know. And I believe this make us special species, okay? And this change all the game, okay? And I believe this will able to make respiratory disease easy to control. And thank you and have a good day.